listeners, XFM in the Community Special. This is where we go through your feedback. We always put it in at the end of each show. It's probably Mars and I's favourite bit of the show, but when the feedback is built up, as it has at the moment, we like to do a one-off sort of special where we can just dedicate, a good half hour or so to your feedback, because we love getting your feedback. It literally makes the show worthwhile, and I can speak for Mars, I'm sure, with that as well. It really does. So we've had quite a bit of feedback. Mars is, as tradition, we always do that way around. Mars reads. I can't be bothered. It's not in my contract to read, but no, Mars reads, and I'll react. So
in real time.
So
I know.
Mars, you excited about this episode of?
I am actually, because tell you why. I've been putting together our awards sizzle for the British Podcast Awards, which we are going to enter under Best Arts and Entertainment Podcasts. So once that's in, do keep your eyes peeled for when we inevitably lose and fail, because that'll be fun.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. Even I have been re-listening to old clips, and you know me, I never re-listen. Not because I'm lazy or I don't like it, but I don't like the sound of my own voice. And I've been re-listening to, and I was actually quite impressed. Pretty good. One thing I want to say, and I always kind of assumed this was the case, but I was never quite sure. Mars is pretty bang on with the editing. It's really impressively edited. Like, because there were some bits where I remember how much shite we talked, but you edited it quite skillfully, like from one bit to the next, like without putting in.
We
the
do
rubbish.
talk a lot of shite, so there's a lot in my in the rubbish bin.
Yeah.
Trust me. But it's a really fun, enjoyable. I actually quite find editing quite therapeutic. It's like ironing in that respect. It's like digital ironing. I quite enjoy it.
And it's always been the case. I would say this. It's always been the case. It's not that I'm lazy or Mars does more for the show. Actually, Mars does clearly do more for the show because he edits it. But it's never been about like me demanding he edits it or him taking the role because he, I don't know, doesn't trust me to edit. It's just the way round we like it. He likes to edit. I don't like to edit because I don't like to listen back to my own voice. And he does a bloody good job, and it's kind of the way it is. So yeah, the editing, if you ever think, oh, that's good editing, don't think Gary, think Miles, because Miles did that.
And if you think it's really bad editing, don't want to hear.
Gary, yeah.
I think Gary.
It was still Miles with his shit. But no,
I genuinely, for me, no, these comments have just been such a mood lifter.
I've read
during
some
lockdown, but it's been so nice to hear you guys' comments, and when there's not that much to look forward to in like your day-to-day life, your working life, whatever, or things you get a bit down or whatever, you read some of these comments and you're just like, oh my god, we're actually doing quite a good thing with this show, right? To connect people. You had a lovely comment the other day about our Twitter thread, at Spinners Podcast. It's really nice to see people to other people and sharing their favorite stories and quotes and stuff. Now, with that in mind, let's start this now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is a new listener on YouTube, because we're on YouTube, of course, as Trout Spinners on YouTube. A person who I can only refer to as No Context. It is mental to realise these episodes were nearly 20 years ago. I always say there is a Carl quote on almost every subject in life. I'm the same way as you are with dogs, and me, it's elephants. I could literally start crying just looking at a picture of an elephant, but true crime all day just doesn't faze me. Oh, this is when I was saying that I couldn't listen to Carl's mum's children's story.
Yeah, that's a really sweet story. Like, yeah. But so this No Context, is he called No Context? Is that really his name?
No Context is No Context.
No Context. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's why elephants though? I don't know. Is it because of Dumbo? Seriously, it might be. Like,
it probably is Dumbo.
I've got it's Dumbo's a really sad sort of.
Well, there's also elephants, in Thailand when you see like travellers, riding elephants. It's just not a very nice thing to see, is it?
And actually, when you see clips on YouTube of, they're often baby elephants playing with say children, and it's actually so sweet, and they are one of the most intelligent animals. That the only reason they don't seem as intelligent as chimps are because they don't have hands, but actually if you take that out, seriously, but they are as intelligent. But those clips are often actually signs of abuse because the elephants are in captivity and mistreated so that they play with humans. Because really, they shouldn't be playing with humans. They should be kind of scared of humans. But so actually, yeah, I see what you mean. There's actual clips of elephants, but I love elephants. They're great with their trunks. They're so.
I do have an image now of an elephant walking around on hands and legs now
Did I
on the
ever
back
tell
of
you?
that.
Did I ever tell you I was on? Well, it's a contested story, but I've heard different versions of this. But apparently, I was on Jeremy Beadle's "You've Been Framed"
You're joking.
because in my cot, and it was filmed with like a big camera because I'm quite old, a proper hand. But whenever Nelly the elephant came on, I went mental in a good way. Again, like this. Nelly the elephant went to town. But I'm not sure if I actually got on
Was
to.
that the most money you've ever earned for your parents? That 200 quid from Beadle in his little hand?
Yeah, his little hand. I think they took it. Yeah, they took it for. I think mum. They both wined and
Strokes
dined
money.
a separate woman. So with that 125 quid each.
No, I love elephants too. So I do know what you mean, no context. I started listening to your podcast. Nice one, boys. Keeping Carl relevant. Did an M17 just film? No Brian in sight. Or is he? About the new Mission Impossible film. Thank
Okay.
you for joining us. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for your comment. Really appreciate it. And yeah, interesting one. I was hoping and expecting we would get some reaction to you saying that. Because it was a sweet thing. It's very sweet. I still think that you don't listen to that, not for any other reason other than it makes you sad.
Yeah.
That's quite
It's a
sweet.
very
But
emotional person. I think lockdown's made me really emotional.
yeah, but you're not emotional. You don't cry like. I mean, you have cried to me. I've seen
I
you
don't
cry,
know.
but
I've
not
no, you
often. I
have
think
you?
I have. I think I have. Yeah, but or you've been on the brink of it. But I probably have. Like we've read letters out on this show from people that have made me very close to cry. But yeah, I've certainly if I haven't seen you cry, I've seen you be very flustered. Put it that way. But
I
that's a
just
sweet thing. That's a
I
that's a
do
that's an
know I
endearing
know what you
thing.
mean. So yeah, no, I find films the only way to make me cry these days. Which is I
But
was
we
watching
talked
what was
about
I
it.
watching? Oh wait, I was watching today. I was watching Big Fish, the Tim Burton film, and it's about a son's relationship with his dad, and his dad's got cancer, quite a serious stage of cancer, terminal, and
Is
he
it a comedy?
basically tells these no well there's common elements. It's Tim Burton, right? And he basically fictionalizes his story, telling these elaborate made up lies, almost like fairy tales though. And his son's question how genuine, and it's all about deciphering truth from fiction and the sort of retelling of one's life. And there's a really it builds up and builds up to this climax, and it's not overly sentimental, though it does clearly pull at the heartstrings. But there's this ending, and obviously I probably do resonate a bit because I'm a bit like I think everyone's got daddy issues, haven't they? Anyway,
No,
me
no, you do,
particularly,
you do.
and I know, and I was like,
Not your
oh,
fault.
and I was just watching it, and it was quite early. I'd just been on a long walk, and I was just like,
Yeah, no,
no.
that's sweet, man. And actually, that reminds me, that is the time I've seen you cry. And on the brink it is when you're talking about your dad, because you do have, your dad's. I think it's fair to say your dad has not been a good dad to you. Has his qualities. He can play the piano, but he's not been a good dad. But yeah, because I said this last week, and I was surprised you didn't agree. I honestly find I don't watch that many films. I watch more than I say. I
We've
pretend.
seen the
I
King's
pretend
Speech
that King's
good,
Speech.
good
Yeah.
10 times.
No, but I've seen Schindler's List. I find The Elephant Man a sadder film than Schindler's List. It is the saddest film I think I've ever. I'm totally with Cole there. Like it's one of the best films as well I've ever seen. Anthony Hopkins I like as well. Like he's always good, but
There is something nice, warming about Anthony Hopkins. But you like Silence of the Lambs as well. Anyway,
yeah.
too much film. This is from Sam Richardson. The Trout Spinners appreciate your work, lads. Just listen to the Richard Anderson episode.
Oh,
Loved all the insights he gave. A really nice guy. If you haven't listened to that, guys, assuming most of you have, but do check that out.
yeah.
Was wondering if you could do an episode talking about Carl's brother, who allegedly died a few years ago. There's a video that's resurfaced of him on a documentary called Benefit Busters. Very interesting to see his similarities and differences with Carl. And he
Right.
sent a link, and I'll post that in the
Sorry,
description.
what did he die of?
That's still contested. I don't know. So he continues, first got into the Ricky Gervais show through Audible when I was 15 and brought all of the series of
Wow.
podcasts and listened to them on repeat. It wasn't until years later that I found out about the XFM shows on YouTube and I couldn't believe my luck. Since then, I've been listening to them every night, laughing myself to sleep. They've become a big part of my life and have helped me through very stressful times. I'm sure you guys can say the same. Absolutely, Sam.
Mm,
I think you're in very, very good company here.
yeah.
I love, it still dumbfounds me that a podcast or an XFM show can bring you so much happiness and joy and get you. What an amazing power that is.
Not just bring you happiness, but even more important than bringing you happiness is sometimes relieving sadness. Like they sound like they're the same thing, but they're not. Actually, they're two different things. Like relieving stress and sadness can actually be more important in life than something that brings you actual happiness. So I'm sure it does both for you, Sam, and for all of us. But it's amazing to me the amount of people that have said that they have just got through stressful times, not been able to sleep. Like there's people have had illnesses, and people die close to them, and the shows have got them through. And certainly, Sam, both of us can relate to that. Not people dying and all this, but just in general. Actually, I can relate to that with people dying, but yeah, you're in very good company, Sam, and we'd love you to have you, and we're lucky to have you now as part of our community. So please do stay with us.
And also, because this has been a recurring issue, Steve's brought it up as well, Carl's brother. They are very interesting videos, these Benefit Buster videos. I believe there was a little bit of speculation as to whether he was or was not Carl's brother, but I think the general consensus is he is, and he did pass away. And I would quite like to talk about it, but I don't know. For me, there is something a
I
bit
wouldn't.
sorry. For me,
Yeah.
there is a bit unsavory about discussing the private life of someone that I don't know. But I totally love his experiences, and I love retelling those stories. But I feel a bit uncomfortable talking about it personally.
Yeah, Sam, it's a good suggestion, but I think it's a step away from where we would go with our talk, and it's not just listeners have said, oh, get Suzanne on, try and get Suzanne on. We've never even tried to get Suzanne. We tried to get a lot of people on, but we never even tried with Suzanne because she's always kept herself private. And same with Carl's brother. Maybe he did it because no one would interview him anyway. But I think that one, if he was on Benefit Busters, that is a highly abusive shows like that. They demonize. I haven't even seen it, but I know they demonize
It's like Poverty
people on
Street,
benefits.
that
Poverty
sort of
streets. It's that absolutely poverty porn. It's disgusting. I hate shows like that. Two, we don't know 100% if it's his brother, and three, he died. So like it's even you can't discuss particularly. I totally understand why he's suggesting it, but we wouldn't discuss on our show really more than just we've done just now about speculating about Carl's brother, particularly as he has passed away apparently. So, but interesting nonetheless, and I totally get where you're coming from. Carl's family are interesting. I'd love to speak to his dad, love to speak
I'd
to his
love to
mum,
speak to his dad. I'd
but
love to speak to his sister as well. I
a
wonder,
sister
and
who's
aunt.
had. Yeah, I would. I'd get a number. Steve did try to.
Well, imagine if we got Auntie Nora on.
Oh God, yeah,
Can you
yeah.
imagine
Well,
on
she might have
Inora?
passed
Fucking
away
hell.
now.
This is from Ben Patter. He says, "Hi guys, love the podcast. And I can't believe how an 18-year-old shambles of a live radio show can bring so much joy and relief to a whole community. I've got quite a bit to say. I'm sorry. Never apologise, man. It's all good. Theory
No.
one."
I think he should be sorry because we're busy. I've got things to do. Do you know what I mean? No, I am literally joking. Go on. I'd love to.
Theory one. In any dynamic of three friends, there is always one person who'll be bullied. On XFM of a Saturday, the person who's being bullied is actually Steve, not Carl. If you think about the spats they have, Ricky always sides with Carl or eggs him on to be as insulting as possible and says things like, he's done you. Steve always tries to get one back, but it never has the same impact.
Yeah.
I often
Okay.
feel
Yeah.
sorry for him because Carl was thrust upon them and instantly garnered all of Ricky's love and friendship. This brings me on to the next theory, controversial. There'll be a lot of people who disagree with you, Ben. This brings me on to the next
Oh.
theory, that the Sturgis episodes are amongst the best. That's because the natural comedic dynamic, because Rick and Steve is allowed to stew. The bit with call him and tell him it's girl might be my favourite. So there's 2 points there, Gary. The first one is, do we think that it's actually Steve who's the victim, not Carl? And the second thing, are Claire Sturgis actually underrated masterpieces?
Well,
Discuss.
firstly, with Steve, I definitely think Steve is the victim of most bullying. And actually, there's a moment from series one, which we haven't covered yet, which we will go back to, where Carl says something to Steve that is just pure nasty. It's not even to be funny. It's like I can't. It's like your sad, lonely little life, like
No,
or
so no,
something.
he says
Why
you're
are
the
you
one who's
picking
going
on
on
me?
about
You're the one
sad.
that's sad and
Yeah,
lonely. Yeah,
exactly.
but it's like it's but in general, I think Steve is definitely the victim. And that is because Carl is sharper and funnier in a one-off situation than Steve is. Carl is sharp. Carl's quicker than Steve. Steve's a better writer, producer, probably actor, but Carl is quicker. So anyway, yeah, I think Steve's right. Two, the Claire Sturgis episode. Are they underrated? Yes. Are they underrated masterpieces? Possibly. I think that I think you because I'm the same. I think you're like me in this. I love the Sturgis episodes, I really do. But if the entire show was with Sturgis, like the whole series, all the series, it wouldn't. You would not be re-listening day after day after day. It's built up into what it has been because of Carl and because Carl was the producer. It could have been as good as as entertaining as whatever. The only reason it's become Carl is because of Carl. So it's really important that Carl produces and presents most of the shows. However, given that Claire only does four, I love them too. I wouldn't say they're my favourite, but yeah, I agree with you. The lot, to call your family and tell them it's a girl, is one of my favourite lines of all time as well. And I there's a different dynamic between Ricky and Steve when Sturgis is on. They're a bit more playful, a bit sort of playing up to trying to impress a woman. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. And they're also kind of not, particularly Ricky is like free from his constant like I've got to think of something funny to put Carl down at the same time as making something funny, which he does brilliantly, like most of the time. But he's sort of free from that, and Steve's free from being abused by Carl, except when Carl phones in, which is fantastic. But
Do
I
you see
want
that,
to
Steve?
see that, Steve.
I tell you what though, Ben, if you do enjoy just episodes with Rick and Steve, do go back to series 0 because I think you'll get a lot from them.
Oh, good idea.
Because it is
Yeah, good
it is
idea.
more, they are definitely more focused around their dynamic, and it is so raw. And this is obviously when they first met, so they're great things to listen to anyway. If you haven't done that already. I would also say I don't believe we've even talked about this before, but like a threesome comedy
Well,
relationship
I have
is,
mentioned it. I've
yeah,
talked
mention
because I remember this
okay,
time.
so I just, something that's just come to my head is, when I was at school, I used to hang out with one boy and there was like another guy and he came in and they were all quite funny. Now we were all trying to be friends with like one of the more popular people in that sort of trio, and the difference you have when there's three, one of you's eventually going to get knocked out, and that's kind
That's
of what
quite
happened.
sad. But did that happen to you or one of the
Yeah,
others?
yeah, no, I was part of the three,
That's
and
sad.
it was.
But I'll say this: I've seen, because I don't want listeners to feel too sad, because that is sad actually. But Mars was popular at school because I've seen his.
I
He
was,
showed
I
me.
was,
He
I
showed. He
wasn't
showed me.
popular.
He showed me his end of year book, which was signed by like
Yeah,
not just
that
like
was
writing your
not
name, but
popular
people
though.
wrote you
They had a
long
bunch of big
messages.
bits in.
People wrote you
Yeah.
long messages. I'm just saying, but that is, yeah, that's sad. I never really thought about it like that. I guess I was quite alone at school at times, but I was kind of always trying to be the funny one,
But
and
that's their relationship reminds me of the most. It's that school, and it's like the new kid comes in, and everyone wants to be their friend, and then your next friend's like your present best friend's like, oh, well, hang on, what's wrong with
yeah,
me?
and it
What's wrong
is
with me?
it is
That's
like that
and
with
that's Steve.
Ricky and
And that's
Steve because
it's Steve. Yeah, yeah. So
particularly as and we've so particularly as we've talked about it, because Ricky like and Steve shared birthdays together. They went to a casino. I can't remember whose birthday it was, but someone's birthday. It might have been their producers. They so in the early days they shared birthdays, but in the later days, not even later days, but just in the mid times where we are now, roughly in series two, Ricky sort of invites Carl, but doesn't invite Steve anymore. And it's kind of they still work together, Ricky and Steve, long after this shows that we're reviewing currently. But it's like that must have been quite sad for Steve in a genuine way. Like I'm not saying he couldn't deal with it. It was like tragedy for him or anything, but it must have been like he jokes about it, but like and Ricky getting to meet Bowie and him not inviting Steve where he probably could have. The fact he invites Carl to his birthday party and Jonathan Ross, as they say, but not Steve anymore, is quite telling, and it is quite like that. It's kind of like you were like the Steve in that relationship. I've had plenty of bad sort of memories in that sense at school, but not quite, not like that where you're in a threesome and someone new joins. But yeah, it can happen, and it's a very interesting dynamic on the show, which is why we love it. But just to come back, Sturgis episodes, yeah, thumbs up. I love them.
This one's from Joe. This is a really interesting email. And Joe says, Hi, Mars and Gary. Listening to the XFM shows on Spotify were really comforting to re listen, and finishing them was a bit of a downer. Then I found your podcast. I love what you're both doing. I'm on
Thank you,
episode
thank you.
3 and I'm loving it already. So well done for
Oh
making it
shit.
through
He's
episode.
he's only on episode 3. He's gonna find
I
out
know.
the shit. Yeah, I thought he might be on episode like 30 or something, but if he's only on episode 3, he's gonna be
No,
sorely
that's good.
disappointed.
No, he's sticking with it. If he's on episode.
Actually, those are our worst ones as well. So
They're all right. There's things
they're
to
all right. They're
enjoy in
good.
those.
Yeah.
I stand by them. The chemistry and history between you two is fantastic, and I'm
Thank you.
really glad you have little digressions and don't focus solely on the XFM shows, but use it as
Thank
a
you.
gel for the whole show. It's perfect. That is totally what we wanted to
Really
do,
nice.
Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you for realising that. That's really on notice.
Just to say, we've had contrasting comments about the opening bit, and there's a couple that I just dismissed because they made out of a place of just to be insulting. But there was a couple of genuine ones that were not they did not like the bit at the beginning, then they skipped through it, and more than one person, only a couple, like not many. Most people say, but so we have had different. So it is nice to get your comment on that part particularly because we've got those comments, but we said we're still going to carry it on unless we
Yeah,
get
but
like
there's
10
the whole.
comments in a row saying, oh, we don't like
Yeah,
this
but
bit,
that's
because we
not
like.
even. Yeah, but that's not even the point, Gary. Because the whole point about doing looking back, having a retrospective for the shows is looking about how they relate to our own experiences in context of like 2021. Like it doesn't a straight retelling of those stories that we've heard a million times before with nothing else. That's pointless.
Well, I wouldn't say it's pointless. I think it would still be a show if we started each show and just got straight into the XFM show we were reviewing. That's one way of doing it. But we don't, as you said, we don't want to do that. We have no like narcissistic at all a desire to talk about ourselves, and we don't talk about ourselves at the beginning, but we kind of say little anecdotes about how our week's been and things like that. And we never plan it ever. We never, ever plan how we're going to start a show, what we're going to come in with, what we're going to, how long we're going to talk before we start the review of the show. And we like doing it that way. And actually, we kind of had this, not a collaboration, but someone who's doing a Simpsons podcast. You should check it out. Stay at Homer, very good. And he kind of said as well, the way he does it is similar in that sense. And he said he put it in a good way. He said, like, this is like a documentation of what it was like to live through COVID time. So we don't just go in and review the Simpsons show. We talk about our lives, in general a bit as well. And we, like, that was only recently, so we've been doing this for a long time. I'm not saying he copied us, but we didn't copy him. It's just both of us came to the same conclusion, that it's nice to kind of just put in a bit about ourselves, because, we want the listeners to enjoy our review of the show. And I think you would enjoy our review of the show more if you have heard just a bit of chat, because you need to know us. The best shows I've listened to, and I'm not comparing our show to these at all, but I cared about the people who presented it. That was what interested me, rather than the content. So I'm not saying we want to get you to care about us, but just that we want to fill you in on how it's been for us and things, and so
like
you kind
me,
of
like
get to
me,
know
I'm the
us.
new boss. Pathetic.
Care
Someone.
No, but we want you to get to know us, like, little bit, week by week, and so that's what we're doing. So thank you, Joe. I appreciate that comment. And your whole email.
So Joe continues, a bit about me. I know you didn't ask, but my situation is a bit unique, I think. I'm a 28-year-old British guy from Sheffield living in Peru, and recently my father-in-law got COVID, which resulted in my wife and her sister going to stay with him and take care of him, and my stepdaughter going to her bigger family since I work from home, and the realization that I'm going to be living alone for the next month or so as things calm down. Don't sympathize, I'm totally fine and stuff, but it's nice to find something to entertain me in my downtime. Finding your podcast has been very comforting, and I'm so glad you're still making them. Time to absolutely sesh them. If you ever fancy a guest, can't believe you had Diggy Anderson on. I'm so looking forward to hearing that episode. Let me know. I've listened to your whole XFM series twice, so I'll get the reference and could answer any questions and share opinions. Thanks, Joe. Sorry,
Joe, get your microphone out, record yourself saying something. It could be absolute shite, because that's what we do, and send it in to us, because we don't get many people respond. We get a lot of response but we have only had one person email in their audio. So send us in something. We're certainly looking to get people. We might do a live night by Zoom. We might do a live meetup, but that won't be for a few months, for obvious reasons. It sounds like you won't be able to come to that, because from what I got from that email, you're in Peru, but they've gone back to England. Now, just to deal with that point, that must be, horrible for you. And I appreciate the way you put it, like, don't feel sorry for me, but you're allowed a bit of sympathy or empathy in that situation, because that is unique. Of a 28-year-old, I can't believe anyone's 28 for a start, British man, no, but from Sheffield, living in Peru. I mean, that's Machu Picchu. Am I right there? Have you climbed Machu Picchu? So let us know. But I'm so pleased this show is giving you just something, I'm not saying it's great, but just it's nice that it's given you something. And of course, far more than our show, what's actually given you comfort and hope has been the actual shows we're reviewing, the XFM shows. So I'm really pleased. And again, you're part of a bigger community than you realise. But your situation is unique, and I hope you're getting on okay. And I'd actually like if you could send us. I'm giving you this task, Joe, now. So I'm not saying I'd like you to do this. I'm telling you to get your microphone out, record some audio. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how it's going in Peru. Have they come back yet? How is your father-in-law? How are everyone involved, including you, in your life story? Let us know by audio. Just it could be 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. and would love to play it all out or some of it out on air. But it's lovely to get someone who would get all the references. But I'd love to hear from you. So get in touch. And
Absolutely, Joe. And we will be doing. I really want to do some Twitch stuff, and like you said, some live shows in the future over. And if not a show, then it would just be great to just have a little social, a little drink, and have a little chat session. But we've got quite a packed calendar. This is the only reason why we're not like doing anything immediately, because in the next couple of weeks we've actually got a couple of interviews lined up, so got to prepare for them. We've got to do our research, which takes time. We've got to work. Gary's got to order pizza and eat chow mein.
no, I do work. I do study. Yeah, so Luke Campbell is the first one next week, and then someone else who I forget. I'm sorry if you're listening. I always forget names of people, but Luke Campbell was director of In Idiot Abroad. I've just been informed by Miles off air, and so that should be an interesting chat. He knows Ricky and Steve quite well, and Carl obviously from his time directing him. Yeah, it's we like to do interviews. We tend to get interviews in bunches, don't we now? Because we got our last two interviews in bunches. So we're still waiting for the Holy Trinity, which probably won't ever come. But then, what's the like fourth part of the Holy Trinity, like the side part? Because that's Claire. However, fourth part of, I know you can't have the fourth part of a Trinity, but Claire is like the next level down, quadrilogy. So we're still looking for them. But we definitely have you on. But it will be maybe when we do a quiz night, or when we do a Twitch live stream. You know, you can interact in that way. So we're going to do something like that, but it certainly won't be for a few weeks, because
I just wish I had another room. I'd love to chat to more people. I've got one room to share.
Oh no!
I share with my girlfriend.
What's she doing at the moment? Is she awake?
Asleep.
Oh, but you aren't you waking her up with your?
Well, just quite deep sleep, I'm guessing.
By the way, so those are all things we'll do, and we'd love to have you on when we're doing them. We'll put it out, closer to the time when we do them, but we don't know exactly when they'll be. But come on. But anyway, next.
This one's from Nick Points. Hi there. Just wanted to get in touch to say how much I am enjoying the podcast. Like lots of people, I suspect, I found it via the Richard Anderson episode, but I've been working my way through from the start, and I'm currently at episode 21. So
wow.
You've made it very well.
You're mental. What a waste of a life to get to listen to that much of it.
Boring, isn't it? Listening to the Trout Spinners podcast. Not me, I like it.
Not me, I like it.
The XFM shows have become part of my life for about 15 years now. Although I moved to London in 2002 and listened to XFM quite a lot, I sadly never discovered the show. I must have been in at that time on a Saturday, but I did get very into the initial Guardian podcasts and then discovered the XFM archives. At that point, it was a series of clips hosted on the XFM website, but somehow I also found a torrent of all the shows and just immersed myself in it. Since then, the show has been the comfort listening and something I often fall asleep to, which is a common thing that we hear. I love any mention of torrenting. It just makes me kind of nostalgic. The language and catchphrases.
LimeWire.
Loved LimeWire. Loved LimeWire. The language and catchphrases that Ricky, Steve and Carl use have definitely worked my way into my vocabulary. But another big impact has been the music it's got me into. Ricky's love of David Bowie and Neil Young has rubbed off on me, as has Steve's forays into the classic hip-hop, and some of the more obscure indie choices too, like Sugar. Copper Blue was an album I listened to obsessively thanks to Steve. Drugstore, Steve mentions that album White Magic for Lovers, which is fantastic, or The Wedding Present, who were a song for the ladies, I think, and some of the bands XFM were playing that never got quite big, like King Adora and Ed Harcourt.
Wow, that's a really interesting comment, and I wouldn't say it's got me into all quite the, and I'll call it obscure, not as pejorative, but actually obscure and it's not mainstream, that all of that obscure music, certainly no hip hop track Steve played has been of interest to me, because I just had no interest in hip hop. But absolutely things like Neil Young and even like ones that were huge at the time, so I was well aware of them. But Ricky's kind of obsession with the Darkness kind of got. I've re-listened to the whole Darkness albums. They're good. But particularly Steve, I think, is good at getting into song. And actually Ricky as well, because Neil Young, I'd sort of discovered. I didn't discover Neil Young through the show, but Hey Hey My and My Hey Hey, the kind of the alternative version of it, and like After the Gold Rush as well by Neil Young, and just the most incredibly beautiful song. And from Ricky's, I got that from Ricky, my obsession with that. And I think one thing that's underrated is the music they played. Just even and they kept up with a bit of Oasis here, the way that like Supersonic is such a good song to play on air, because the outro is just amazing when you come back in from it. I've said this before, I'll say it again until everyone's bored of it, mate, but I'm going to keep saying it. But it's a really good point you make, Nick, because the music, and of course the other stuff you say, like about their phrases making the way into our own sort of lexicon, it's absolutely shared experience with us. But the music, yeah, you're right. They got me into quite a bit of music. Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Atlantic City is one of the most beautiful songs I think I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
I loved it as fan because they also played. Well, my mum's favorite artist of all time is
Bowie.
apart from Bowie and Queen, who's a massive Freddie Mercury fan.
Is
Is
she?
Cat. Yeah, massive. But Cat
Oh,
Stevens.
T for the Tillerman, and yeah.
Yeah, but my mum loves Cat Stevens, and
Your
I
mum, I tell you,
yeah,
she's got great. She's not like a mum. All right, she's into Queen. That's a bit of an older person's band, but I love Queen. She's into Bowie. She's into Cat Stevens. All really cool. She's into Bob Mortimer. She's into Stuart Lee. My mum's. I'm not even going to
Laura
make the joke
Gaynor.
that she's into women, but she's not into all of your mum stuff. Still love her, but I love your mum.
Oh, but I no, they play some excellent music as well. In like the series 2 stuff as well, like that. I think obviously I've got a soft spot for Britpop. I'll listen to Britpop till the cows come home.
But yeah, that's shared, I think.
I mean, I'll be quite upset. But it's often oversighted, isn't it? The music for this show, and a lot of people comment on this. But anyway, Nick goes on. What I've also appreciated about the shows is that quality they have of hanging out in a pub with friends who know each other well enough to wind each other up, but also to push each other just enough to annoy but not fall out. Your podcast has that quality too.
Well, we do push each other. I like that, and just that's a really good. Actually, I think that's worth another read. Just say that sentence again that he said, and put both these in. I'm not saying to cut one out. It's reread that, because it's really well written.
Should I do it in a Scottish accent or it's no
Well,
noise?
that wasn't Scottish. That was like IRA.
Okay.
No, go on. I just wanted to hear
Okay.
what he said. That sentence about.
Okay, here we go. What I've also appreciated about the shows is that quality they have of hanging out in a pub with friends who know each other well enough to wind each other up and to push each other just far enough to annoy but not fall out.
Yeah, really good. The only caveat I'd put to that is that they actually do push each other far enough to fall out on the show, like sometimes. But that's a really well written point in general. You're right. They have that dynamic that you just push just as far as you possibly can without really falling out. Even because that time when they did fall out, I mean, there's another time, but when we've often used this quote in just general life, but like, you seem quite upset. After checking, it wasn't anything I did, and I can totally imagine Ricky sending that text to Carl after Carl genuinely seemed upset, and because he doesn't want to fall out at the end of the day. They do. Ricky and Steve and Carl fall out, but yeah, it's a really well phrased point, and I like it. That's why we said it twice. So if you get stuff said twice, it's endorsed by this podcast.
Your podcast has that quality too. I don't know anyone else who listens to the XFM shows, let alone knows them back to front. So it means a lot to listen to two other people who was equally so immersed in a show and who can wind each other up with the obscure references. I wish I'd found it early in lockdown. Doesn't matter. You're with us now. It's all good.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, look forward to catching up with the rest of the episodes, but just wanted to say thanks for all the time you've put into recording them. Rodney, you bilch.
Yeah.
You bilch.
Great ending and great email. Really well written about our show.
And our last one before we wrap it up this is from Steve. Now bear in mind this is pretty out there. Right?
Okay.
And
I'm intrigued.
It really entertained me. So,
I haven't read this one.
Steve, who is D-Trouty, and he's a Patreon. And if you are looking to get some extra shows, some extra content, then do come to us on Patreon. Just give us a small little donation.
15 quid was we had got.
No, so do join us there if you want some extra shows. Yeah, you can join whatever you want. 5, 15, 125 quid, Rick.
125 quid, Rick. That's the perfect amount.
How much you want? Anyway, this is fun. Steve said, loved the latest show. Carl's dad's monkey stories are really interesting. Up until I think it was 1976, it was legal to keep exotic pets in the UK. My parents were from the East End of London, and I remember seeing pictures of a monkey. And I remember seeing pictures of a monkey that friends of theirs kept as a pet. This would be back in the 50s or 60s. Not chimps, though, more like the ones in the Thai temple. But I don't think they ever answered the door. This is because we were talking about the legitimacy.
You didn't believe it.
And I didn't believe that a couple of chimps answered the.
No, it wasn't a couple of chimps. It was a drag artist. Just one chimp answered. But still, I'm not saying I definitely believe it, but I think it could well be true. And he makes a good point. I think you said he said it was illegal to keep exotic pets at that time. I think what he means is it was legal.
I said it was legal.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you. But yeah, it used to be legal terribly. I mean, it was just, people could just keep alligators or whatever, I mean.
Alligator in the bar.
I think people did because they only grow to the size of, they're like goldfish.
So I want to see a picture of London, and there are loads of them, from the 50s or 60s, and it looks like fucking Tarzan.
Sounds meant, wartime had just finished. People were meant with their animals, but
Okay. And so Steve says, and when we moved to Harrow in the 70s, there was a bloke who had a Shetland pony and a black panther that he took for walks at the local green.
I believe that. But that's crazy. And just I want to say, Steve.
Do you believe that? No, wait. Sorry. Do you believe that, Carl? Gary?
No, I'm not Carl. Yeah, I can believe that because it was legal and people, wealthy people could import these animals and or zoos already had them, but they could just take them as pets. And of course, it was dangerous. It's terrible. But I do kind of believe a panther could have been a pet. But one thing I want to say, Steve, is nice shout out to Harrow. That's where I was born, in Harrow. So, and I know Harrow well. And in fact, Steve will know this, but I have very strong connections to Hatch End. That's just for Steve because no one else is going to have anything to do with that. But
well, Steve says, keep up the good work, fellas, and as always, look forward to the next episode.
Thank you.
This has been the next episode. Thank you, Steve. I do very much appreciate your, and do send us stories of your bizarre history because it sounds like it's just as wild as Carl's. And I'd love to hear more. Can you imagine having a black panther as a pet, just chilling, taken out for a walk? It'd be terrifying.
Well, yeah, it'd maul you. It'd maul children. It would maul.
I used to really like what's his name? Bagheera from the Jungle Book. I used to really resonate with.
Which one was Bagheera? I can't remember what animal it was.
But it was the Black Panther. It was like, ugh.
Oh, wasn't he the evil one?
No, that's Shere Khan.
Oh, okay.
But he was like really cynical and sarcastic, and I was like, I loved. What Disney character did you most resonate with?
Um,
Because it wouldn't be like a comedy sidekick. I don't think you've got that sort of. Because
no.
I'd be the little fat dumpling man that hanged out with Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. Because I'm quite
Oh,
annoying.
oh, do you know? Was that the teapot?
No, that's Mrs. Pot.
I think no, there was a teapot.
Oh,
Oh, the
Chip.
candlestick.
Oh, Lumiere.
Yeah, that I think is either teapot or candlestick. I think it's the candlestick from Beauty and the Beast.
Lumiere.
I think that's.
You identify with Lumiere. I don't see that at all. I think you could
No, I
do
don't see
Spot
it. I
because you're a
don't
bit.
know. I get confused about which is Disney and which is not Disney. If we're talking, if Toy Story was Disney, which it's not, then I'd very much identify with Mr. Potato Head. But I know
I
that's
could see. Oh,
genuinely like.
very topical now because apparently he's gender neutral.
But you know, I just want to tell you, D Trout, it's 9 minutes past midnight. This is by far the latest, or should I say, the earliest we've ever been recording a podcast in a day. So, bit of an odd one for us, but yeah, I've really enjoyed it because I always love it, and we'd always do it the same. Like Miles reads it out, and I react, and some of them I've read before, but some I haven't, and I like to keep it that way so that I hear it for
So
the
that he
first
doesn't
time
have
on
to
air.
read out the
No,
emails.
it's not that. It's partly that, but it's not just that. It's genuinely not just that. It's not. But
No,
no, I think Mars does a far better job reading them than I would, and
I
I
would agree
hopefully
with that.
react to them in a interesting way. So actually, cut that out. Cut that sounded really,
Okay.
really. Oh God, I can't believe what I just said. But anyway, Mars reads them out really well, and so yeah, I like these features, and but we will be back because I think the last emailer now he said,
Steve.
I'm looking forward to your next show. Well, Steve, this is as you said, Miles, this is the next show, but it kind of is and it kind of isn't because it's kind of a bonus show. So we will be back with a review of episode 44.
But not before we do our interviews.
Oh yes, sorry, we've got no,
Because
yeah, we're
that
not,
is actually
yeah,
big news. Because what
no,
we have, so big news in podcast land, we are talking to Luke Campbell, who was the director slash producer of An Idiot Abroad, who did who did all three series of it, including the one with Warwick Davis. But now he's a showrunner and executive producer at Studio Ramsey that did the Gino, Gordon, and Fred road trips that have recently come out on ITV, which is there's some sort of genetic kind of links to the shows, obviously the road trip, the travel catalogue nature of the shows. So we're definitely looking to obviously dig down deeper into what Carl's experience was like on An Idiot Abroad, and definitely open to any kind of questions you got there. But also, I'm very eager to find out more. I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan, and I love Gino D'Acampo, and I love Fred Senaris. I think that's his
yeah,
name.
I
Who's
do too,
from
but
First
not as
Dates,
much.
and I'm very eager to find out more there. And we've also got Nigel Williams, who was the editor of The Office, Extras, Ricky's early stand-up shows, and he does loads of stuff for the BBC. I know he's done a couple of Office-related podcasts as well, but I hope that our questions will be a little bit different with a kind of angle towards
Yeah,
more Ricky's personality.
yeah, and I know what you mean because we're approaching things from a different angle, and it's just naturally going to be that way. So we're always
You're looking at
looking.
things we're looking at things from the pie.
We're looking
We've
at the
got a
whole
pie.
pie thing. You don't want it, Jenny. My favourite line ever. I can't get enough of that. We're always looking to the dynamic between the three of them when we're at these angles. And we will say this: like if you're doing an Office podcast or a Peep Show podcast or a Miranda podcast, you will have many guests, extras in the thing, actually main cast members who will all be willing to talk. Maybe not the main ones at first. Maybe you need to do a year of podcasting, but then you'll always get the main people on. But for us, much harder because none of them want to talk about that time. There's only three of them, and then apart from the three, there's people like Claire and Andrew Phillips. We've had Andrew Phillips on, Richard Anderson. We've had him on, so we're quite limited on our guests. So we are straying a bit further afield to their other work. but we're always bring it back to the dynamic between them in a way that probably other shows wouldn't do. They'd do a brilliant interview, but they just wouldn't do it the way we would do it. So hopefully there's something of interest for you in those interviews. But anyway, that is it for today.
Absolutely. But also, wait.
Oh,
No, I was going to say, how about we wrap things up, Gary? Because I'm bored of talking to you, as I always say. I was thinking about we should wrap things up with a little bit of music.
Oh, you're gonna, yeah, because this I think, yeah, because we found or Mars found Kellerton Road single. It seems to be. It wasn't a single. It wasn't released as a single. It's just like their only piece of music that's online available. Out of interest, Mars, how many views did it have? Just roughly. You don't need to get checked, but just did it have like 1 million? 10,000, 100? Was it that sort of range?
It's kind of funny, right? Because with all of these songs that people have found through the XFM shows, and when you go on the YouTube link and you go to the comments, literally all of them are about the XFM show.
Yeah.
One of them is like a genuine, oh, I love the guitar sounds on that, or your voice is great. It's like stuff like jukebox or junk box.
Yeah. Well,
there's a certain satisfaction in seeing stuff like that. And considering, so yeah, we are going to play Kellerton Road, and the song is called Secretly, which was featured on the Jukebox Champions. We have played Born Depressed and the other song I can't remember. And,
I really like Kellerton Road. I'm gonna say I'm totally fine. You know, we've made our decision and things, but I actually personally would have gone with Kellerton Road for our intro music. Do let us know your thoughts on that. We're not going to change it now because it's too long in. But I just wonder what people think of that. Maybe I'm the only one who would even consider that, but I kind of like that. But I like the intro music we've got now because it's quite catchy. Actually, I quite like it. I've been listening back to it quite a bit.
And it's from An Idiot Abroad as well.
So enjoy Kellerton Road. This is Secretly, and we will see you. Join us next week for a very special interview, and then the week after for another one. But we might do a Patreon special in between. So get over on Patreon and sign up. And also, I might as well just plug it. I'm not going to talk about it on here because it's. We'll talk about it on the next show maybe. But I did some stand up tonight on a live Zoom comedy night, and we're going to edit it and put my performance on the Patreon site. So do check it out.
I think we're going to expect a lot of refunds in the coming days, Gary.
Yeah, just throwed it back. They didn't even want the money back.
Didn't want the money back. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening. Always appreciate your company. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, your week, wherever you are. And this is Kellerton Road with Secretly, and we'll see you next week.
Notice that you're always there. Some kind of daydream, but what is she dreaming of? Is she dreaming of? While your heart stops and you start to speak, you ask if she's not too